All right. I think, should we get started? So just very quickly, a couple of points of admin. Well, first of all, actually, welcome to Bucksmore. But just a quick reminder that the session is being recorded, as all the workshops and sessions have been. And if you have any questions at any time, if you can type them into the box at the bottom of your screen, they'll come to me. So whilst Rory is talking, I can either reply in the chat, or at the end, we'll be doing a big Q&A and we'll start going through the questions one by one to make sure you have everything you need. So, like I say, welcome to everyone. To those of you who know me, welcome back. Lovely to sort of see you. To those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt. I'm Matt Ty. I'm the Managing Director of Bucksmore Education. And the very distinguished gentleman you can also see on your screens is Rory Wilkinson, the Chairman of Bucksmore, who I'll introduce shortly. And Rory's going to lead the main session today. But before we get started, I just wanted to kind of explain what we're trying to achieve, who Bucksmore are, and also kind of how we work with the schools and colleges, because today you have sat through, hopefully, lots of really interesting presentations about schools, sixth form colleges, OIC, Dover Brooks, Oxford sixth form. But we're different, of course. Bucksmore's not a physical school. We are the academic short course provider. So mostly summer schools, as you hopefully know, but also year round. We're doing home tuition courses. We're doing one-to-one. Of course, we're doing digital. And what we are, we're the academic short course specialist. And the reason we're part of the schools and colleges group within Oxford International is because our student profile is, of course, identical to the schools. You know, all of our students who come on a Bucksmore program come from a top school somewhere in the world. It could be Dover Brooks, for example. It could be a school over in China. But there's a huge way, basically our student profile is identical. And what Bucksmore is, and any summer school or academic short course, is a huge part of every student's journey. So I was listening to Yasmin Sarwar earlier and Andrew Gillespie earlier as well. And they're all talking about the skills students need outside of the classroom. You know, particularly at the moment, because exams are cancelled, everyone's looking to set themselves apart. They need something extra. They need something outside of their regular schooling. And you know, what Bucksmore attracts are those really bright, academically ambitious, they're curious students. And so what we're trying to do is to introduce a few of those concepts to you to show how your students can continue their student journey outside of their year-round classroom and come to a company like Bucksmore. And we're going to talk a bit about what we offer and how we can add value to the students' experience and really sort of add to their skill set and really increase their experience as part of the Oxford International family. So as I say, the gentleman also on your screen is Rory Wilkinson. Rory, I believe, you're going to have to correct me here, Rory, if I get any of this wrong, but Cambridge graduate, of course, very distinguished, like all of Bucksmore. And then I think you joined Bucksmore in 2008, Rory, if that's right.
Correct.
And back then, Bucksmore was very different. We were called something different. We had two small centres, I believe, mostly doing English language. And we're a very, very small company with a loyal number of agents, some of whom I can see on the participants list. So hello to you especially. And since then, of course, we've grown massively. And in 2009, Rory introduced the Young Leaders course for the first time. So if you go online now and you Google Global Leadership Summer School, there are a lot of courses out there like that. But we were, I think, the first, or if not one of the first, to really introduce this concept of leadership to summer schools. And hey, dear. And really what we're trying to do is yeah, even back then, as early as 2009, when Rory was the managing director, and I joined him in 2010, is to offer students this different experience, not just the classic summer school, but to introduce this idea of leadership, independence, intellectual curiosity, and looking to progress to the next level of their academic experience. So what Rory's going to do, and I don't want to take any of his stuff away, is talk a bit about the concept of leadership and how we deliver it in summer schools and how it adds to students, and also how it's kind of developed over time, the very idea of leadership and ambition. And what we try to do with Bucksmore is to reflect these changing ambitions. We update our courses, and we'll tell you all about the courses at the end. But since 2009, the Young Leaders course, it's won awards. We've been nominated for British Council Elton. So it really is at the kind of pinnacle of summer school learning. And the general idea of leadership, you know, Rory's the expert, he's the chairman, he's the managing director, and he's going to wow you all with his presentation, because I've done a lot of presentations recently, and most of you will be sick of my voice. So for now, we're going to hand you over to someone far more qualified, and I'll be there throughout to answer any questions on the text, and we'll answer any questions at the end. And of course, we'll recap all the Bucksmore stuff. So thank you again. Welcome to everyone. Hello to those I haven't met. And now my very long-winded introduction is over, and I'll be handing over to Rory Wilkinson, Chairman of Bucksmore. All yours, Rory.
Thank you, Matt. Wow, with an introduction like that, I'm going to disappoint everybody, I think. But anyway, welcome everybody. What I would like to do, yes, I'm having a focus on the young leaders course, but I also want to show how important we believe short courses are for young adults and for children, and how they can really develop very important parts of their personality, their skills, and the way that they look at the world and they understand the world. I'm going to talk for about 40 minutes to 45 minutes, and then we'll have a period for question and answer. So I'm going to begin with this slide. And you're going to look at it and say, what's this? Ambition of my classmates, 1964. Wow, who one is as old as that, so that they were at primary school in 1964? And the answer is me. What are those jobs? But it's kind of important, what I'm going to say about this, because this was actually asked by my teacher when I was 9, 10, and it was 1964. And the teacher asked the class, what would you like to be when you grow up? And all the boys said, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a policeman. And all the girls said, I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a housewife. And it's interesting that, I was looking for an image of a housewife, and of course the only ones I can get which take it seriously are the retro ones. There's no anything modern is kind of ironic about being a housewife, because it's no longer seen as a sort of an option. A house parent maybe, but not as a job option. But at that time, it very much was, and girls, wanted to be like their mummies. And as for the boys, well, the boys, they didn't know anything else. They knew what a fireman was, because maybe they had a little fireman they played with and a policeman, but they didn't know anything else. And so that's how the class divided. And my first love, who was called Jessica, and she was in my class, and I say my first love, but unfortunately she was all the other boys' first love as well, because she was by far the most popular girl, and she wanted to be a housewife. I remember that distinctly. Jessica used to come in the morning, and all the boys would wait with their coats. And when she put her coat on the peg, we'd all rush to try and put our coat over her coat, so that at the end of the day, we could take our coat off first and then hand her coat. And that was my ambition at that time. I think it was to be a fireman and to marry Jessica when I grew up. Now, if we go 6 years forward, you get the ambition of my classmates in 1970. And now I'm, 15, 16, and the same question was kind of asked. And the answers we got was this. There was, on one side, there was now kind of influence of parents and the jobs of the parents. And the school I went to, it was a private school, and parents were quite, a lot of them were professional classes. So there were quite a few people who said, I wanted to be a lawyer, or I wanted to be a doctor. And then there were other children who said, from their schools, I want to be a teacher. Or again, if they were good at sciences at the schools, they said, I wanted to be a scientist. And then there were more rebellious boys, of course, and they wanted to do something outside the school experience, But again, it was a very limited experience, So at that time, the end of the 1960s, being a big rock star was a great ambition for a lot of people. And those, who like reading, was in literature, was to be a poet or to be a novelist or something like that. Sports people wanted to be a professional football player or a sports player. And then those really cool kids wanted to be a revolutionary, especially Che Guevara. I think a lot of us had Che Guevara as a poster up on our wall. But what I'm trying to show is that was the level of our passion, because that was also the level of our knowledge. Now, I was quite academically able, so I went from this school. Well, I should also point out actually that you'll notice there are now no girls' jobs here. And that's because I was at a school which was exclusively for boys. There were no girls in the school. And so again, you know, my knowledge of the world at that school was limited. And it was also limited by gender as well. But as I said, I was academically able, and I got into Cambridge, and I went to Cambridge. But actually my sort of knowledge of the world was not that different, and I went through 3 years at Cambridge not knowing much more, and ended up deciding, right, I'm going to be an academic because that's what I knew. I'm going to be a lecturer at a university. And so I started a PhD, and thinking I would go into an academic career, but after about a year and a half, 18 months of doing the PhD, I got involved in doing short courses for the extramural board at Cambridge in the summer. And people liked my short courses, and they came to me and they said, look, we don't want short courses just in the summer. Will you do them in the rest of the academic year? And so I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. I will do that. And so I started doing these short courses, and I did more and more, and they were successful. And I realized that my biggest overhead was hiring basically colleges and lecture rooms. And I decided I needed premises. And at the time, there was a failing English language school in Cambridge. And I decided I would buy this school for very little, and so that I could use it as a place where I could have my short courses. But it was also a school that was going. And so I suddenly found myself the age, I don't know, 22, 23, with an English language school that I was running. And it was a lot of work, but it was fun. And I decided I would give up my PhD because I didn't think it was, I was enjoying what I was doing instead. And that's how I fell into the career that I've had now. And I'm right at the other end of it, of course, now, but that was the change where I moved into. And it happened to me by accident, you know. And interestingly, a lot of my generation now, my age group, they're all retiring now. And I've spoken to obviously lots of them over the years, and many of them who especially went into kind of business or things that weren't professional, non-professional, said that they also fell into their careers more by accident than by design. And what I'm trying to make is this. The point I'm making is this, is that we're limited by what we don't know. We are limited by what we can't imagine. And we're limited by what we haven't experienced. Now, these are all three, they're three negatives, but I'm going to come back to these and show how important this idea is in education. But before I do, I want to say there was another difference between my time, you know, in the 1970s at school, and the children, the young adults now. And you see the little picture of me at the bottom, which is it's not really me, but I'm trying to think of myself as a cool student of the 70s on one side, and then on the other side is somebody now. And of course, the difference is that the source of information that I had was just books, TV, radio, and my teacher, and of course my parents. Whereas the source of information now for the children nowadays is colossal. The amount of information coming through the internet, through their phone, through their computers, through all this information is kind of bombarding them. And as a result, there is a difference between where I was at the end of my schooling and as I went to university. Yeah, I had questions. What do I want? What do I want to study? What do I think? What job do I want? But now, because of this abundance of information that comes in to, you know, children and young adults now, they have many more questions. You know, what do other people think of me? Am I missing out? And those questions multiply and multiply with the amount of information that comes in, causing something that is a concern at the moment, is the amount of teenage anxiety that you have. And a lot of it is because of this bombardment of information. So I want to go back to those 3 questions again, and I want to change them. And those of you who've studied philosophy will know that I'm going to go into statements that account for almost 2,000, 3,000 years of philosophy as we know it. But I want to deal with these statements in terms of learning and in terms of experience. So the first one I'm changing is we're limited by what we don't know to you cannot be what you haven't imagined. This is a really important concept. Okay, philosophically, you know, it's a huge issue, this, because it's the idea that kind of existence or who you are actually is always in a state of flux, that existence and humanity and humans are always becoming something. So they're always moving in a direction to something, and that's what makes them human and makes existence what it is. And I want you to see that means that they're moving towards a goal, and to have that goal, they have to have the imagination to see that goal so that they can move towards it. If I put it more in terms of something, you know, kind of practical, it's like you know, if you want to be, I don't know, if you want to be a lawyer, then you put your path out to become a lawyer. Or it also relates to the scientific method. You know, the scientific method is not that we have a experiment and then we find out what happens to that experiment. No, it's not that. It's we come up first of all with a hypothesis, and then we form experiments to test that hypothesis. So you imagine what the result is or the goal, and then you find the means to test that goal or make your way to that goal. Similarly, in business, I don't know whether some of you have heard of the big American thing called a BHAG, which is a big, hairy, ambitious goal. And you set your business on the course to this big, hairy, ambitious goal. And then you just do everything towards that course, and it gives you direction. Famously, you know, the Starbucks ambitious goal was to be the best known brand in the world. In other words, to be more than Coca-Cola. So that means that you're becoming something, you're going towards something. But to go towards something, you have to be able to imagine it. Which brings me to the next statement. You cannot imagine what you don't know. And again, we've got lots of years of philosophy and thousands of people far more able than I have written about these concepts. But this is true as well, that in order to imagine something, you have to know things in order to synthesize them and imagine them going. For example, you know, imagining a flying horse is basically knowing a horse and knowing a bird and putting the two of them together. But this idea of what you know and then to what you can imagine is very important in your career, in life afterwards, because say you are a lawyer and you're an expert in one area of law, of torts, and then a new kind of, I don't know, something to do with the internet comes along, which has never been there before. And you suddenly realize, oh, my knowledge in torts, it applies to this new area. And you can imagine how it would work in that area. So this connection between what you know and what you can imagine is very important. People who know very little can imagine very little. And the last one, well, this one of all of them is the one, you know, from Parmenides right the way through to the age of reason, the rationalists and the empiricists and the analytical philosophy of today. It's, you know, it's a huge thing. But what we're dealing with is how we understand the world. So to have, you know, these statements are obviously going to touch on big philosophical principles. But yeah, you cannot know what you haven't experienced. Now, I don't want to go into this as a philosophical statement and, you know, whether we only know what our sense impressions tell us. What I'm doing it from a learning point of view, from a point of view of how we understand the world, and that the depth of knowledge that comes through experience, as opposed to just having the information about something. Obviously, you know, if you have the information about a city, the number of people in it, the key buildings, something about its history. That's great. That's information. But you don't really know that city until you've been there, you've visited it, and you've seen what it's like. Similarly, if I was thinking of scuba diving, that you can go to a lecture about scuba diving and learn everything about what you need to know about scuba, but you can't really know scuba diving until you've also experienced it as well. So the connection between knowledge and experience is really important. And that brings me on to why I think short courses are so important. Because short courses give students the opportunity to know more, imagine more, and experience more than they have just in their school. It takes them into different areas that they have never been before, different places, and of course, exposes them to other people. And so not only is it a test of their knowledge, imagination, experience, but also of their emotional intelligence, because they have to interact with students like themselves from different nationalities, cultures, who have different approaches and different values. So the short courses are a very, very powerful learning tool for children and young adults. And they give students the opportunity to make lasting friendships with other students from all over the world. In Bucksmore, we have people who come back to our different courses year after year. And very often they come having connected with people they've made friends with from, Brazil and, Germany. And they say, are you going back? And they come together and meet up again in a Bucksmore course. That's why short courses. So why Bucksmore short courses? Well, Bucksmore short courses are premier short courses, and we're unashamed about that. They are for high achieving, ambitious, high skilled and independent, inquiring children and young adults. And they're for individual students. They're not for groups of students. We don't, encourage groups to come and then they stay in their own group. They come as individuals, and that means they interact far more. They interact with the other people on the course from different nationalities, with different views of the world. And the class sizes are never more than 11. So there's a focus on the individual learning. And all the courses are designed to give them the opportunity to widen their understanding in the way I was trying to say earlier on, to broaden their horizons with new experiences, new knowledge, new methods, new approaches, new interactions, and to test their EQ skills and to learn by doing. It's all fundamental to the way we devise our short courses and what we're trying to do. And as you've seen, from Bucksmore has grown and grown, as Matt was saying at the beginning, and there's more and more courses from the year 10, age 10, right the way up to university, and the courses get more and more sophisticated as the students get older. But the one I wanted to talk about particularly is the young leaders courses. We have young leaders courses at 13 to 16 and 16 to 18. And these courses give the students the opportunity to learn and experience what is needed to be a leader, what it is like to lead and how to lead, to interact, to inspire, to motivate, to influence, to react to change, to be part of a team, and to lead and to be led. These are the things that they give them, which they don't necessarily have at school. They may not become leaders in later life. They may be kind of influencers and be very happy with that position, but because of their experience at the on the short course, they will have an idea of what it is like to lead, what it's like to be part of a team, and how to lead a team. So I think that's enough of me talking for a bit. And what I'd like to do now is just to get you to listen to some of our students talking about the course of young leaders. And also we have Matt Doherty, who's our Director of Studies, talking about the courses.
Young Leaders takes place in Wadham College in Oxford. Wadham College is a historic college in the centre of Oxford, but this year we'll be using the Dorothy Wadham Annex on Iffley Road. And the annex itself is a brand new purpose-built facility which opens in September 2019, so Bucksmore will have exclusive usage. Young Leaders is different to other summer schools for a variety of reasons. One of the main reasons that Young Leaders is different is because of this material that students study on a weekly basis. The material is current and up to date, so the syllabus is rewritten every year based on current world events. Young Leaders is a course for students who are looking for something different in their summer. Young Leaders teaches students the skills they need for the future.
The classes are quite small, which I think is very good. It's very effective because in that way every student is a part of the lessons.
The best thing about studying here is the learning, because I feel like it's very different from where I come from.
The key skills that students should be developing are leadership, time management, negotiating skills, debating skills, public speaking, speech writing, and project management.
Everything comes down to you. So that kind of opportunity is something you don't get at school, and the best thing is it doesn't feel like school.
Young Leaders is for ambitious, forward-thinking and motivated students who want to spend their summer having once-in-a-lifetime experience to develop their key skills for the future.
I didn't only improve my English skills, but I also got amazing experience of working as a team.
Students have the opportunity to study law, politics, United Nations, journalism, business or marketing.
The United Nations project, for example, they are assigned a particular country.
We have to find out the position of our country, what they think about environmental problems and especially global warming.
By the end of the week, they then take part in a Model United Nations Summit.
I've become a lot more confident in public speaking. I totally feel like I could stand up and do a speech in front of a lot of people now, which I may not have thought before I came here.
Before I came, I was a very shy person. I didn't like public speaking. My voice got shaky when I spoke in front of a large crowd. Young Leaders has literally changed my life.
It's almost like a once-in-a-lifetime experience because we learn so many things we'll be able to use later in our lives.
I believe that learning should also be fun, and that's what this course does.
Everyone's my friend here. They're all so friendly and nice.
For those who are thinking whether to come to this course or not, I'll say, don't think, just come. You'll enjoy it.
So that gives you a kind of broader idea of the Young Leaders, but also has some of our students talking about their impression and how valuable the course was as they saw. So I just wanted to just repeat some of the points that I've already made, that these courses, you know, they are about imagination, knowledge and experience. And of course, you need all three to be a great leader. But you know, you need to influence, you need to inspire, you need to earn support, you need to evaluate, you need to decide, you need to motivate, and you need to lead. But you also need the emotional intelligence qualities of self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skill, all of which we try to build into our short courses, because the interaction between students from different countries is a key benefit that we have from in Bucksmore short courses. So this emotional intelligence is very important. I want to now talk something about the techniques, the learning techniques in Young Leaders. That it's not all just information, it's not just theory lessons, but we try to have different ways in which the information or the ideas or the experience we're trying to give to the students is disseminated. So there are theory lessons, yes, certainly, where we give them the parameters of knowledge so that will help them act and do. There are workshops which allows them to practice negotiation or selling or public speaking or leadership or team building or whatever. And then there are the lectures, which aren't just a someone talking in front, but they're interactive. They engage the students, and there's lots of Q&A. And we try as much as possible to ensure that the students ask questions. It's very kind of Anglo-Saxon way of teaching is to the teacher is more of a facilitator than an informer, that they facilitate the students to learn so that the students can learn more, but they ask questions and they find out more. And there's some countries which have a different type of teaching. So this is quite novel and different to them. And we're aware of that and how we can deal that. We also deal with case studies. As Matt said at the beginning, we try and make the Young Leaders course as relevant to the present day as we possibly can. So everything we do is up to date. So we write new case studies for each of the different elements of the Young Leaders course every year. So it's up to date and relevant. And then very important is the group projects where the students work as a team, where they appoint a leader and they find out what it is to lead and what it means to be led, which makes them understand leadership better. And debate club, persuasion, influence, the ability to express your opinion is again a very important skill that they learn and they're exposed to. As one of the girls said in that video, I never thought I could do public speaking, but because she does it in the short course, it gives her confidence. So just these 4 things. I mean, any of you who've been on a management course will know that each of these areas are huge. I can go into 5 steps of management, the ways in which one anticipates risk and things like that. But for the students, they're just new things. And these steps of a project management or of an enterprise is important for them to understand, and the course gives them the chance to be exposed to these, to plan and to learn how to plan. But while they plan, also to anticipate, to assess risk. And then, of course, it's putting the plan into action, the doing part. But if you're doing, you also then need to review what you've done, so that next time you've got a review which might modify. So that those 4 areas they are exposed to in the different things that we do in the Young Leaders course. So just more of an overview of Young Leaders. As I said, that we try to bring everything up to date, and everything requires active participation. You probably heard one of the people in the video saying that there's a United Nations task where the students represent different countries. They're given an issue which they have to deal with, and then they represent their country for that issue, and they have speeches, they have a resolution, and they come to some kind of consensus. Similarly, we have journalism, and there again we may, for example, get them to design a social media platform for news, or for a campaign, or for something that will also engage their journalistic skills while they learn about journalism. And each time we do one of these things, we try to make the experience something that would last for them. So we actually have, like, the United Nations in the Oxford Town Hall, or in the actual event, or we have a law week as well. And that we go to the Royal Courts of Justice in London, where they have what's called a mute, which is like a mock trial. They're given a case study, and they have to be the prosecution, the defense, the judge. They have to be all different elements of the thing, and they understand how law in the UK works, which is essentially adversarial. And they do that in the Royal Courts of Justice. It makes it more memorable. And business and politics that we have, the business one, we get them to think of a business, and then they have to pitch the business to see if they can get funding. They do that as a team, and they work together as a team in order to make the pitch. And similarly with politics, it's a political campaign of some kind that they are involved in, again as a team, and everything is in some very memorable place at the end, so it will stay embedded. The experience will stay embedded in their minds after they finish the course. And then we have sample of guest lectures, all of whom are lecturers who have expertise in their fields, and they can come and they can talk about the different elements of the week that they are. So Kathy's talking about the United Nations, and Craig talks about politics, and he's the current Lord Mayor of Oxford, and he is very experienced in the different the ways that the different political parties work inside a city council, and also, you know, winning votes. Jane is a columnist of the in the Telegraph, who has a weekly column every Monday morning. And, you know, beside her column used to be Boris Johnson's column, who was also a columnist of the Telegraph until he became Prime Minister. And Jane used to say that whenever she would ring up her editor and say, okay, I'm ready to file, they say, we're still trying to find Boris. We can't find him. He's somewhere else. And then Natasha has got lots of experience in business, Tatiana in law. So these people come and give lectures from experience of life in law or in business or in experience with NATO. And they're important, again, for students because they're memorable, and they expose them to the issues that they might have when they're in later life. So again, rather than me talking more, must be getting a bit bored of my voice. I want to, oh dear, I need to get, this is Eleanor talking, answering questions on young leaders.
Hi, I'm Elena. I'm 16 and I'm Uruguayan and Spanish. I studied the Young Leaders course in Tunbridge, Kent. I chose Bucksmore because I wanted to work on my leadership skills, on my English language skills, and because I also wanted to make friends abroad. What I liked most about the location of my course was the fact that it was in the countryside, but it was also close enough to a town that we could enjoy it on the weekends. On the course, I honed my communication and negotiation skills and did a lot of group projects that I really enjoyed. During the excursions, we visited several parts of London, but my favorite excursion of all was when we visited the Royal Courts of Justice, where we held our mock trial. My favorite thing about the course was how we were able to put into practice everything we had learned in group projects and mock trials and UN conferences. I recommend this program because it really helped me to hone my communication and negotiation skills, and I also made a lot of friends. It was a really enjoyable experience. Bucksmore really stands out compared to other summer courses because of their dedication to catering the experience to every individual's needs. It's truly, truly a great summer course.
So, you know, the title of this is Developing Future Young Leaders, and I think Eleanor is certainly one of them, and some of those other students you heard in the other video as well. Extremely able students. It's every year we're amazed by how talented the current generation are. And I want to go back. I mentioned the Bucksmore journey, and I want to just return to that so you have a better idea of all the courses Bucksmore does. As you can see, the young leaders is the one that I've been talking to, which is on the age 13-16 and the age 16 to 18. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring back Matt now just to talk a bit more about the Bucksmore journey and how it's envisaged and how it works. Matt, are you okay to come in and say some things?
I'm good to go. Thanks, Rory. So hopefully you can all see why we're focusing on this as part of the Oxford International Workshop. These are exactly the skills that would have been mentioned earlier by Yasmin, by Andrew, by Mark Love, by all of our speakers. And this is the kind of opportunity that students can have. So let me just talk you through very quickly the types of courses. I can see there's a few questions which we will address at the end, so please do keep typing them in. We'll definitely get through all of them. And actually, one of the things I was going to say is I was talking to Rory yesterday about this presentation, about leadership and kind of how it's changed over the years, which Rory's looked at already. And you know, even from 2019, those subjects you had there, the sort of law and business, you know, even now perhaps they're changing in terms of, you know, what people want. So you're probably going to start looking at things more like sustainable development and the focus of leadership has really changed from when we started this course, from that very managerial sort of level to a much more sort of collaborative, interconnected leadership. But still those skills we were talking about, the teamwork, the public speaking, the confidence, that's still the same across all these different types of leadership. But it's a constantly changing word, a definition. And what we try to do is to match the students to that, particularly on the leadership course. But it's the same in all of our programs. So very quickly, for those of you who know Bucksmore, please bear with me for 5 minutes. For those of you who don't know Bucksmore, you can see all of our summer programs on the screen in front of you. Now, I know what you're thinking. What on earth is going to happen this summer? This is not the place to address that because that is a very long question and a very long answer. What you need to know is that at the moment, we are still promoting summer schools for 2021. Nothing has changed. We think we can still run summer schools. We're going to have much more information in the next few weeks. I'm going to be running more webinars. So if you'd love to hear more of my voice, of course you do, I'll be doing many more of these webinars talking about what might happen in the summer. But for now, this journey in front of you shows you what we expect with students. And we have 3 different age groups, 10 to 13, 13, 16, 16, 18, and 3 different levels. And what we want really is students joining us in the top left of your screen, should really be pointing that way. And you should be able to sort of see that they start on, you know, we still have EFL, we still have English language, but it's much more advanced than that. We do coding, we can do STEM. And again, we're trying to progress these students' skills outside of the regular classroom. Everything we do is joined up with the student journey throughout education. So the Bucksmore journey is just one small part of the journey from the kids' age from 10 all the way through to 18. So we've got STEM, we've got coding, we do intensive English language, which it sounds sort of very standard, but it's not. It's 25 hours. And as Rory says, the whole Bucksmore ethos is about this independence. It's about appealing to those students you work with in UK schools, in international schools across the world. So you can see there on that top level, that's all the kind of English language, which they still need for IELTS. We do a Bucksmore assessment, which is an internal exam, which matches students to an IELTS level, to a Cambridge level. So at the end of the summer, they have this unofficial certificate saying, look, I think I'm around IELTS level 5, and I know what I can do next. But then as they get older, we know, and more advanced with their language skills, we know they're looking for something more, something a bit different. And that's when you move down a tier, or up a tier, to academic enrichment, which is in the middle. And that's where Young Leaders comes in, because it is the next step on the student's journey. Once they've got their language skills right, they're improving the other skills they need, the emotional intelligence they need that Rory was talking about. And again, we've got programs like boarding school preparation at King Edward's. We've also got young professionals, which is a very similar course to Young Leaders in terms of level and delivery, but that is quite careers focused. So that is about telling students what life is like as a lawyer, as a medic. It's not a general skills course like leadership, because that underpins everything we do, any work you go into. I wish I had that kind of training when I was a kid. You have to learn pretty quickly whatever job you go into. So these kind of opportunities, whether it's career-based or leadership-based, that middle tier is for students ready to make the next step up away from you know, the sort of maybe more traditional English language, English STEM, English coding, English performing arts kind of programs. And then finally, as they get much, much older, and maybe they're ready to move on, they've got the leadership skills, they've learned what life as a lawyer is going to be like, they're ready to move on to university, because, you know, we're part of the schools community, really, and that's our student profile. So then at the very bottom, or the top, again, depending on which way you look at it, university experience, that's our pre-university course. That is designed around the Oxford and Cambridge University experience. Rory said he went to Cambridge. I'm a Cambridge man as well. We designed that course so that students pick two subjects to study, whether it's physics, which I would know nothing about, English literature, which I should know about, but probably don't, maths, biology, economics, any of these academic subjects. We do them in very small tutorials or supervisions, and we give them the Oxford and Cambridge University experience. So you can see there's a very clear progression through. And this is just the summer, which we hope we can deliver this year. Again, please do join me in another webinar in the future. If you have any questions about what's going to happen, as I say, just contact me or contact your representative, and we'll be happy to talk through how we're supporting you. But as well as the summer, we also have home tuition courses. We have year-round one-to-one courses, so that if you have students studying abroad, we can offer university preparation courses online at the moment. We can do boarding school preparation courses. When things start lifting now over Easter in the UK and start improving, we can do face-to-face one-to-one courses. And again, not just for students coming into the UK, but a huge number of our students are in the UK. They're at Dover Brooks. There are other top independent schools in the UK, and they're exactly the sort of clients you're working with. So that's the Bucksmore journey. And again, this presentation is not about me selling to you. It's about trying to give you an idea of the academic ethos and how we fit with the schools and colleges. So, if you have more questions, please do contact me. I'm matt@bucksmore.com. You know, please reply to whoever you're in contact with in Oxford International or Bucksmore. So, and then very quickly, if we move on, Rory, do you want to flick through to the next slide for me? Thank you. And then just to give you an idea, again, summer, this is what should happen, what hopefully will happen. We match the locations to what we do. So you've got very prestigious boarding schools. Some of you might know King Edward School. Some of you might know Tunbridge. But then we also have King's College London. And again, we have the Oxford and Cambridge University colleges. So we match these prestigious locations to that academic progression, that journey that they have in the summer schools with us. And again, I'm not going to go into details and tell you how great all of these centres are. You should know that Magdalen College is the best one, because that's where I went. So you should always say that. And I've said
completely wrong. Completely wrong.
I was waiting for Rory there, and I'm sorry, I say that in every presentation, so those of you who joined before will know exactly that, but I like to keep saying it just in case. So that's just a very quick overview of what Bucksmore does. And again, those leadership values, those skills, they're always changing, we're always refreshing. Thank you, Chris. 10 minutes. We're about to move on to the Q&A, so I think we've done this pretty well. You know, that's what we can offer your students. And again, you know, if you've got students progressing to Dover Brooks, we do things like pre-sessional English, so we can get their IELTS up, or we can do programs over Easter if they need extra support, or if they're interested in applying to Oxford or Cambridge. And of course, in the summer, when things are back to normal, hopefully this year, we can make sure we welcome your students to improve their English, to meet other students, to learn about leadership skills, to learn about future careers, to learn what life is like at universities. All of these things, it's a one-stop shop for you here at Bucksmore and Oxford International, the schools and colleges. So all of our students should be looking at these courses as a whole, progressing all the way through. And it makes your life much easier as well, because you only have to talk to one person. So I think that's it, Rory, if you progress.
Yep. So just to repeat those three key things, the way we understand the world, the way we learn, the way we kind of evaluate and prepare ourselves to be independent thinkers, learn, experience, imagine. And that's very much what Bucksmore short courses try to give to the children and young adults who come on our courses. And I hope that we are successful in it. We get good feedback. I think just the voices that you heard on the videos I played give some idea of the responses that we get. Thank you very much for listening. And now maybe we can answer some questions, Matt.
We can. So I'm going to start with one in the chat from, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but you've called yourself M7 Test Centre. And Rory, I'm going to hand this one to you. You have 30 seconds, 1 minute to answer. According to your personal experience, what kind of leader must the leader of tomorrow be? Leader through action or through vision?
Oh, very, very interesting. For me, I mean, what I think leadership, I was going to say, comes with a lot of experience as well. That I didn't mention it in the talk, because I think you can't be a good leader until you've got a lot of experience of leading. And most of the great leaders I know, they always say that minimal intervention is something which makes a great leader. From my own experience, I believe that what makes a great leader is somebody whose goal is to make the environment for all his team, or the people who are working to him, such that they can work to their best of their ability. And that's the main function of the leader. Obviously, to show direction and goals, that's important, but it's particular to make sure that the environment, the work environment for the people who are working for the team, if you like, is such that they can work to the best of their ability. And that means probably much more minimal touch. I mean, a very famous book called The 10-Minute Manager it's quite old now, but I think that is true. So I would say kind of vision, a light touch, and the ability to motivate and to give your team the environment they need to be able to work to the best of their ability.
That was much better than I was expecting in 1 minute, Rory. That was a big question.
Yeah,
the other questions, and look, thank you very much to everyone who's joined. If you do leave now, of course, we won't be insulted. There are a few technical questions about Bucksmore courses in some detail, and I'll go through those now in the question and answer section. I'll work in reverse order. So first of all, Tatiana, thank you very much. Do we have AI related courses in addition to coding? At the moment, no, but we are always refreshing, and I think AI is going to be something we're really looking at, particularly for the pre-university courses, because the trend of university courses moving forward is very much going to be focused on the AI and that sort of technology base. So it's definitely something we're going to include very soon. Probably for 2021, we're not there yet, but we are always refreshing, we are updating. And if you do have feedback like that, so if you know you have students who want AI, come to me, ask me. We welcome agent feedback. And if you have a group of 10 students wanting to study something, just ask. We have all this great material and we can adapt it, get tutors from all over the place. So just ask. So at the moment, nothing AI. It's mostly just coding for the younger students. I think for the older students, it's definitely something we need to look at and include in the future. Working backwards. Hey, Sasha. How do we group students for the young leaders? Well, technically, they all should have a B1 level or above. So if you saw that tier 3 tier section that we did for the Bucksmore journey, that middle tier needs at least a B1, preferably stronger. And we do actually have native speakers on young leaders, students from the UK or USA, often with much better English skills than I have. So it's always quite embarrassing. We do grade them when they arrive. So we do have slightly weaker and slightly stronger classes, but generally they all mix. So all the projects are mixed, all the kind of lectures are mixed ability, but some of the classes are slightly graded. We don't tell them who's weaker and stronger, but just for some of the classes, we do test them when they arrive and just check that they're with students of the right level for most of the course. But for the rest of it, excursions, mixing, workshops, lectures, projects, they're all completely graded, mixed from B1 all the way up to native level, because all the students, they're tested before they arrive as well to make sure they're the right level. I'm going to keep going. How long have I got? 4 minutes. Don't worry, Chris. I'll also give you 30 seconds at the end because I think it's the last one of the day. Advanced Studies at Oxbridge, subject insight content. Yes, I'm actually planning to do a webinar on the Advanced Studies in a week or two, because that is obviously one of the most popular courses this summer for older students who are more confident traveling. And it's a very detailed course based on the university experience. As I say, I designed it and Rory designed it on the Oxford supervision system. So let me cover that in a new. Basically, my answer to that is come to the webinar in a couple of weeks when you get the invite, and we'll go into all the subject details there, and that'll cover things like the AI that we're looking at as well and the changing disciplines. Will we run summer camps in the local country with UK Bucksmore teachers? Look, we still don't know what's happening in 2021. We'd be very open to running camps abroad. We'd need support from yourselves. We have all the resources, and any of our programs, whether it's leadership or the university preparation, we can always explore lifting and dropping the academic content and the Bucksmore model and the Bucksmore values So if you do have questions like that and you're interested in in-country provision, particularly this year, because we don't know who will be able to travel, please do just contact me or Shu, who's asked the question, or Sasha, or anybody else you're dealing with in the GRU. Oh gosh, Shu, that's classic. You just asked me 5 very long questions there. I'll do 10 seconds on each. Is all the Bucksmore home tuition material. So for those of you listening, home tuition is our year-round, adults and juniors, any week of the year, including Christmas. And it's completely tailored because we match a student to a host teacher and they go and live in the teacher's home. So it's a very important part. And as I say, it's very popular with students in the UK who can't go home for Easter or half term. So we've got a lot of students over Easter holidays looking for courses because they don't want to go home, quarantine, and come back and quarantine, for example. So we do monitor home tuition material. We're British Council accredited, and basically our academic manager will always be supplying content and checking the content before students arrive, and we need a detailed lesson plan from each teacher. However, that will change. The whole point of home tuition is that it will be adapted by the teacher to the student's needs after the first lesson. So it will change, but yes, we do have oversight and control the quality of it. Any discount? We are offering an early bird offer at the moment in March, and we're also offering deposit-free bookings. The goal is to make sure you can book now with no risk, no worry about coming this summer. So if things do go bad, and we hope not, fingers crossed, there's no payment, there's no penalty that you or the parents will need to make. So we do have a number of offers. Again, please do see in the follow-up and contact me or your representative. Certificates, I think that's best addressed directly to the person who asked it. It's a very common one. We are not accredited by Oxford University. We're not part of Oxford University or Cambridge University. If they have special requests, always come to us. But if you see a school labeling themselves as Oxford University, be very careful and just always ask and make sure it is actually that. Some people do it. We are not, and we have to be very careful about the branding. I've only got 1 minute left, so I'm going to have to miss the rest of the questions. I'm very sorry, Shu. But of course, I'll be available at any time for any of you. Please contact me on matt@bucksmore.com, matt@bucksmore.com, via email. I'll be delighted to arrange follow-up calls through this system or at any time. And my thanks to Rory for his delightful insights and his wisdom over the many years, not many years, sorry, very recent years.
Thank you.
And we've given you a whistle-stop tour to hopefully the theory of leadership, to Bucksmore, how we fit the schools, and what we can do for you and your students. So really, thank you very much to Rory for putting that together. Thank you to the S&C. Chris, do you want to wrap up? Because I think this might be the last session of the day, and we've probably got 30 seconds before everyone leaves.
Thanks very much, Matt. Just want to extend a huge thank you to you and Rory for a really insightful session. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a panel discussion featuring Suzanne Rouse from the British Boarding School Network, our very own Jonathan Cuff, who's the Managing Director of the Schools and College Division, Peter Lawrence from Odgers, who's the head of their School Practice Division, and also Andrew Gillespie, who some of you will have heard speak earlier. So thanks to Matt and to Rory and to everybody for their time and contributions today. And we'll look forward to reconvening tomorrow morning. All the best. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone. Bye.